Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Jashed. Today I have with me Brooke Murray. Brooke is boss lady at Brooke Murray Designs and co-founder and collaborator of Lumina Design House. Brooke is a fabulous graphic designer. She handled my rebrand earlier in this year and was so great to work with, and has such a knack and talent for demonstrating and sharing and communicating a brand and their story and what they're all about. And I just had to have her on to chat with. Really, it's just, that's really what it is. So thank you so much for joining me, Brooke.
Oh, thank you, Jess. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Me too. I love our chats.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, you do an amazing job of telling a story about a person or a brand through the imagery and design, especially in logos and templates and all of those things. And I'm not really sure of, like, because it's your area of expertise, it's definitely not mine, but like I'm not really sure of like the right wording here. But how do you think branding and images speak to people and elicit feelings in people when they come across them?
Well, I think when I look at branding, I think it's really just about telling a story. And so I feel like it's almost the opposite. Like I talk to people, business owners, and find out their goals and ambitions and that sort of thing, and that gives me a bit of insight into the story that they want to tell and how they want to connect with their audience, and then that's what I try and emulate and develop for them. And I think just finding out a bit more about what drives them then drives me to be able to come up with ideas and concepts, and we kind of just put it all together from there, and that's kind of how the journey starts anyway.
I really do think you do it so well, because having been on the receiving end of that with you as well, it was because I was like, oh, my background's in marketing, so
Yeah.
I should have the answers, right? Like
Yeah.
the almighty should. And like I was like, but I don't have the answers. I don't, because this is why I'm hiring you to do it, because that wasn't my area even when I was in that area. Um, and you did that so well, because you just asked questions and I just got to share about what I'm about and what my brand is about and all of that. So it was this really beautiful experience, even as a business owner, to express that and to kind of refine that as I was talking, because I was like, oh yeah, this is what it's about. Like this whole experience of really understanding myself and my brand
And
through that.
it makes you look
Mm.
at that a bit more, and sometimes you might not have even thought about some of the things that are probably important to bring out, and,
Yeah.
and I think you really like nailed it there, by like, you've got a marketing background, but you weren't sure how to tackle this, and I always kind of think we all have our own little not little always, but our own special talents and skills and skill set. And I've always been a communicator. I've always loved to talk to people and find out about them and what drives them, and I've always loved small business and that sort of thing. So I think I just had this natural kind of like pathway to small business and business branding, because it kind of just tied in with the way that I communicate, and so I felt like that was my niche. But then when you talk about marketing, see, I wouldn't call myself a marketing expert. I don't have a marketing background, but I can put the pieces together that set the foundations, and then it sort of goes from there. And so yeah, I think everybody just, you just have your own special little things. And I also try and find those special things in people, that they might not have thought of. Like, often I'll get clients who don't want to use their name or use a lot of their own profile in their branding. And I kind of sometimes encourage that, especially if it's a service-based business, because you want your audience to relate to you. So I kind of try and draw that out a little bit and say, look, wow, you're fantastic at this. Like, why don't we work on, drawing that skill out a bit more, or boosting that in your profile, and that would really resonate with people, and they kind of go, oh wow, I never thought of that, or I'm a bit shy about that, or whatever, but we get there. And
Yeah, exactly right. Like I'd be the same, because I say I have a marketing background, but that's because I've worked in marketing teams, but my area really is communication within that, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
it is like this whole, oh, I have an idea, but I have no idea. And I think you tapped on something really important there as well. Like, as a business owner, especially, you may know your brand, you may know the feeling of it inside out, but at some point you can't see the forest for the trees.
Exactly.
And having, especially when it comes to branding, so like I was lost, because I'm like, well, I like this and this is what I want to demonstrate, but I have like NFI about how I want to actually, what that looks like to other people though, and
Yeah,
how I demonstrate that, because it's so close. And
yeah,
as a service-based business, it's so close, like it's extra close than just being a
yes,
product-based business, I think, as well. So you're like, you have that reflection of, and I think that's a natural talent that you also have, just knowing what I know about you as well, is you have that reflection of being able to pick up on people's strengths, or where they shine, where they may
yeah,
not recognize, but also like those areas where they shine that relates to the audience, not just to themselves as well.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it's all about the individual, and like I said, with branding, it's not just creating a logo, it's creating your voice, and
Mm.
and it's telling your story, like, because that's what resonates, that's what people are going to connect with. They may want the service, and they may be willing to pay for their service, but what they'll
Mm.
really resonate with is you, and and so that, I think, is, yeah, that's the fundamentals anyway.
Yeah. I wonder, there's a reason I asked this question, because sometimes I kind of go a little ad hoc as well, with when I'm like, I don't necessarily know what I'm planning on saying to someone in a coaching session or something. I
Yeah,
just kind of trust that it comes up. So when you are communicating with a client to help them communicate as a brand, so in that kind of chat that you have, is there anything in particular that you use or say or look for, or do you kind of just trust the process and what comes out in the conversation?
I kind of had it. I bet. Well, as a good business person, I do have a guide. I kind of do like a creative brief, or just a discovery kind of brief with someone. I generally like to, like you, connect with the person first before we start working together, and work out whether we are going to be a good fit, and whether we can go on the journey together and be successful. But I think it is a lot ad hoc. I have a series of questions. I know what I need to get. I need to understand, and so I've got a series of things that I have to kind of check off. And I sort of start the conversation with, like, I just have to get some basics, or I just have to go through these questions so that I make sure that I understand everything completely, and I don't go away from the phone call going, we just had a great chat, but I have no idea. I have no
Yeah.
idea what to do next. So I go through my process, and I kind of look at things that I like. I look at it more as a whole. So when I go away, I do some research, obviously, and I think about things. I also get a lot of feedback from, I get a lot of pointers and ideas from the client, like based on the things that they like. Like, you sent me some ideas of things that that resonated with you, which doesn't mean that we would copy them. It
Mm.
just means that that's kind of style, and so that gives me a guide. And then I put some things together, and I have a bit of a brainstorm and a mood board myself, and I get all that. But I look at things deeper as well, in terms of longevity and relatability, if it's going to be memorable, if you're going to be able to see it in the corner of a screen, if it's going to work well on a banner blown up to 1,000 times, and then is that going to help carry your brand to where you want it to go? So you've told me what your goals are. Is me creating this going to help you get to that? And so then I think about everything and put it all sort of together. But I always say it's a collaborative process, because like with you, I might ring you and go, Jess, I've thought about this. What do you think about if I add a bit of gold here, or what, like that, and because you might go, oh yuck, no, I don't. That's not
No, I was all about the gold.
and then but that's fine. Like, and I really appreciate that relationship, that open communication. I always encourage that, and always say, if you hate it, just tell me you hate it. It's not going to hurt my feelings, because I need to get to the true you and what's really going to work. But I also have to guide in the way that like, so you might really love, I don't know, you wanted to have a flower, and you had this image of a flower that you wanted in your design. And the ones that you've shown me, they're kind of replicated a lot in other businesses, or, I've seen it a lot in media, or it might be a little bit old fashioned, or something that's not going to work with your brand, or with your voice, or with your longevity. And I think I kind of I'll go, yeah, look, we can work with that flower idea, but we can maybe modernize it.
Yeah.
So it takes a bit of like persuasion sometimes to but it's a healthy persuasion. Like, I know this will work if you trust me,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I can definitely relate to that, like, because it's like, I think for me, my process was, I was pretty unattached largely. Like, I knew there were certain elements that I like, and I'm like, look, I like this, but I also trust you, and I don't know, I can also like other things as well.
Yeah.
So like,
I guess it's pointing you in the right direction and narrowing that down, because I do get a lot of people like that say, I don't know, you're the graphic artist, I mean, you come up with the ideas, Brooke. And I go, yeah, of course I'll come up with ideas, but
I'm good at giving feedback on, when it comes to like graphic design, right? I'm really good at giving feedback on it. Generally. Yes. But at the same time, like, sometimes it's like, I don't know where to start. Give me a starting point and we can.
Yeah. And it was good with you because you rebranded. Sometimes when people are starting from like their startup and it's completely blank slate, and they've thought of things and had an idea in their head, sometimes they need that visual before they can, see it come together as an idea. And and so there's just different ways, and I don't ever put one size fits all. So I assess what the client needs, and then I build it to suit what they need, and they could be like you, and we get everything sorted and get you a beautiful concept and get all your everything that you need, and you take off with it and do your stuff. Or they may be like, several of our clients at the moment who enjoy our continued support and the extra kind of templates and designs that we can kind of they can use to keep building their brand. So it just depends what people, everybody's different, and so you gotta just I'll probably go on a tangent.
No, I love it. It's true. Like, it's sort of like there's a different way of communicating because everyone has different needs.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good lesson across the board as well.
Yes.
So speaking of collaboration, you have, was it just this year, the weirdest year of all years?
I know, right?
Was it just this year that you have I mentioned in your intro, so you co-founded in a collaboration with Lumina Design House, which is the collective.
Mhm.
Can you share around like what that is, but also
Yeah.
the communication process, because your different professionals sort of come together and
Yeah.
have that experience as well?
Yeah. So I guess to go back a little bit, I started Brooke Murray Designs, on my own, as a, basically a freelancer, and just started building my identity and that sort of thing. And I was really fortunate to have a really fantastic business coach who always talked to me about collaboration, like, Brooke, and it didn't click. Like, I was like, yeah, of course, like I'll collaborate with people, and it didn't really culminate into anything really, until I met Nicole, and Nicole started helping me with my website, because she's a designer like me, but she's focused and specializes in web design. And instantly we had a great connection, and we just started like talking about business and realized how like-minded we were, and we were like, maybe we should like do this together. And so we kind of just joined forces and realized that we were valuable together, and that we had something really great to offer people. And what the feedback that we got from our individual clients when we were separate businesses is that they come to us for our personality and our our energy, and what we, how we relate to customers, and how we personalize everything. So Nicole was exactly like that, and we were both the same. So we were like, great, well, we're gonna just attract some great thing.
Mm.
And so yeah, we decided this year, as like it was literally when COVID started, that we
Mm-hmm.
were gonna start a collaborative, which is Lumina Design House, and yeah, elevate both of our brands, and sort of focus it more towards packages that are all encompassing, so you can have as little or as much as you want.
Yeah.
And so yeah, together as a team, we kind of were able to offer a lot more. And we have a social media manager as well, Darren, who has come on board, and he, like-minded again, and it all sort of kind of just
Gelled.
yeah. And we were like,
Yeah.
hey, well, we've got a great product and something that we can really, and obviously I did all the branding and made everything look lovely, and
Of course you did.
and that was a process, getting the name. And people always come to me and they're like, Brooke, I don't know what to call myself. Like, how do you come up with a name?
Oh
And
my God.
honestly, that is one of the hardest things. If you were to ask me what's the hardest thing about starting a business, it's deciding on a name and finding the right name.
Oh
So
my God. Yes. Like
yeah,
my first business name was Jessica Lee Yoga, and that was pretty easy. Like, it came to me in Shavasana. I'm like, well, done,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I never refer to myself as Jessica. So I'm like, oh, you can get a look in here. Great. There you go. Like, and then I realized people kept calling me Jessica because that was my brand name. I'm like, oh. And then when it came to the rebrand, I'm like, holy shit, where do I go? Like, what direction? What do I
Yeah,
do? And it got to the point where I just realized I was overthinking it. I'm like, I just
yeah,
need to choose something, because fuck it. Like, this is not the important part. Like, what I'm actually called isn't all that important. My brand
exactly.
is important.
That
Like,
is so true. That is like what I say all the time, and I probably said it to you as well.
yeah, like it
You
was
just,
probably affirmation at that point. You're like, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, oh, good, thanks.
yes, I had someone ask me the other day. They have a specific product, and they said, if I don't use that product in the name of the business, then how will people find me? And I think that's the mistake that people make, because it's not. Again, like you said, you could be called you know, any number of things, but it's what you
Mm.
build around it and how that voice comes out. It, I do feel like it has to have a story. So if you can say, the reason I chose this, or the reason we do this, or when you introduce yourself, or you're building your brand identity, you know, and you know what your why is, you know what your focus is, and you kind of like understand your story confidently,
Mm.
then you can have pretty much anything you want. I mean, obviously I kind of keep it
Within reason, yeah.
nice and memorable, nice and short. Let's not get too carried away, but
Yeah.
you don't have to be too limited on that. And I feel like that's where people go, oh wow, okay, I didn't realize that. But they also come to me and think that I'm going to have a business name for them, and
Oh.
that's hard for me because
No
I've got
pressure.
1,000 ideas and I could just throw them all at you. But that's not really where my best value is. I think my
It's
best
not
value
your
is,
scope, is it?
no, when you can find your identity and you kind of know what you want to do, I can pick up from there and go with it. But I think, you know, it needs to go back a bit first before you get to that point. And like you said, you kind of just resigned to it as well. You went, I'm not going to overthink this. I'm not going to make this like keep me up at night. I've just got to like make a
Yeah.
decision, and or yeah. And once you kind of do that, you kind of just let it sit with you, and you know, you build a confidence around it.
Pretty much. And that's really the process. I was growing resentful of my old brand because it had the word yoga in it. And I still teach yoga and I still
Yeah.
love yoga, but I was growing resentful because I'm like, I don't just do yoga. Like it was this whole like icky feeling. And then yeah, it was really the process of I need to not overthink this. I just need something that's still personal. So it's a slight
It's still your
on my name, but it's not my name. It is, but it's not. And then it's like, but it also needs to just be an umbrella because I don't just do yoga, but I also don't just do coaching, and I also don't just do like communication and EQ training. I do, you know, like it's this whole blend. So it was that understanding and communication with
yeah.
myself of it's okay to just go with this and then focus on how I communicate the brand from there.
Yeah. And that's a really good thing that you talked about, because you aren't just typecasting yourself into one specific area, which is also what I look at when I develop like a brand suite, like I call it a brand suite, a responsive brand, because I like sometimes people just think that they'll grab a logo and just stick it everywhere and that'll work, which it can.
I kind of did that with my first one, but yeah, I get you.
Okay.
I just needed to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm grown up now.
What we did with yours, as an example, was like we had the primary logo, which is very it's got lots of graphics and it's beautiful in its, you know, design, and it's got the lovely script text and the little icon. But then we gave you something that was a little bit more corporate, a little bit more as a sub logo that also would fit in in different spaces as well, but also resonate differently. And so it gives you a bit more scope, so you're not pigeonholed, I think.
Yeah, it definitely it was the feeling of like evolving. So like, because the dragonfly is my little icon, and it definitely grew up.
Yeah.
And there was this like evolution of then you were able to use that, so then I can like and create different things for me to use, so it didn't have to just be the logo each time. It could be the icon, it could be this, if however it worked, so that way it was this really
grant that's building your identity, and it's connecting you with your visual appearance on you know, wherever you're putting your branding, and it's all tying everything together. But it doesn't have to be one little thing, it can be many things.
Yeah. And as we're talking about this, it's also the realization that it can represent the different aspects of me that are in the brand. You know, it's not just a blanket one thing, it's this representation of all the different ways that it could be the,
Yeah.
like, you know, yeah. So, but you're right. The business name it's one of the hardest things as a business owner. But another hard thing, and we were kind of talking about this before
Yeah.
we actually press record, is the communication with ourselves when we have like the funky days. So we're switching gears a little bit, but I feel like it's a really good thing to bring in since we're
Yeah.
talking about business ownership, especially during our year 2020. Like, just it's one of those things like where we have this communication with ourselves sometimes where we're like, oh, nothing's gonna like flow smoothly, and this lack of trust. So you were saying that you were experiencing that a little bit as well this year, like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I'm there with you in the party
Yeah.
of that. But yeah.
Exactly. Yes, that's what we were. Well, we talked about how, like I was just saying, how we started this collaboration in the midst of world crisis, you know, and businesses are failing, and you know, and it was catastrophic, and it is catastrophic, and it, you know,
Yeah.
and we did freak out. Like, is this going to ruin us? Like, what are we, like, have we chosen the right path here? And now, you know, but I guess, and I said to you before, I think what's happened in my journey as a business owner, so I've not just been a graphic designer and had my graphic design related business, I've also had hospitality based business as well. So I've always been in and around small business. So in my experience as a business owner and getting to my 40s, I think I've just learned that it's okay when it's a bit shit, and it's okay when it's really good, and just to kind of ride the wave sometimes. Like, I know it's hard when you're facing, you know, financial stress and that sort of thing, but I try and just put it in perspective and say, I've been here before, it's been hard before, it's been catastrophic before, and I've, you know, I've got through it. And, you know, you just kind of have to keep a positive mindset. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to do, because it's not.
Yeah.
But that's what I try and do, and just like try and not focus too much on how bad things can be, but like how good it can be as well.
Yeah, I feel like my journey with that, like, I call this a gift. Some people would not, especially
Yeah.
those who have been on the other side of this gift of
Yeah.
mine, is like, I can be very stubborn. So like in certain areas, right? Like, so when it comes to my work, I'm like, this is working out. Like, this has to work out. There is no other choice. Like, so it was just this stubbornness of I'm keeping going. Like, I've had people who told me like less at the end of last year who were like, maybe you should get a job. And I'm like, maybe you should shut up. Like, no, I'm just
I have a job.
I have a job. I'm busy. This is what I'm doing. This is where my energy is going.
Yes.
Meanwhile, like, I'm struggling, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm feeling all the like the lack of enjoyment, but I just have this belief in my purpose and in belief in the vision, right? And I think that's a really key part for business owners, is to have that belief in your vision, but also be smart about it. Take care of yourself how you need to.
Yeah.
But things did still work out. Like, you know, I was still always able to pay my rent and feed myself and, you know, like pay the bills as they happened. It was just very tight is how I would describe it for a long time.
Exactly. I'm that's all exactly like my journey as well, you know. It's
and you trust the process, because then all of a sudden, like you said, like you had this collaboration, and if you hadn't done the work, it might not have actually come about, because you might not have been ready for it. So you have this collaboration and you have this flurry of people wanting to work with you. So you kind of have to trust the process, and then it eased out, so that way you're not busy all the time either. So it's like, you know, there is a balance and it can happen.
That's right. I'm very grateful to have a really fantastic business coach who we kind of yin and yang each other out, but we're very similar as well. So that's a good thing as well. But you know, to have someone there to be able to, you know, weather the storm with has been really different for me, because I've pretty much just done it on my own, and so did Nicole, and you know, so Darren's worked primarily on his own as well. You work on your own. You know, it's you kind of on this solo journey sometimes, and you think that no one can understand, and how, you know, you're in it alone, and but having that support in that collaboration, even though they're not the ones, you know, we're not supporting each other financially or anything, but it's just like having that person to talk to. And also I've got the support of my parents, who are both have been small business owners. They're retired now, but my dad, who never really gives me too much astute advice, he kind of he'll say the odd thing here and there, and he is quite a wise person, but you know, often it's a bit of a grumble or a whatever, an aloof comment. But he said to me when I was saying, Dad, I'm feeling a bit worried about work. I'm worried that things are slowing down, and I'm, you know, and he said, you know, when I was working when you were young, I had times where I didn't know where our next job was coming from, and I thought, how am I going to pay the bills? He said, but then I would get so busy, I couldn't even look at you. I'd be so busy, I didn't have time for anything, and I would be so stressed. And he said, I have learned now that you need to appreciate the time when you're not so busy. And he goes, I never took the time to say, oh, I'm not busy now, I might just have a break, or I might just like, you know, do something for myself, or spend time with my family, or, you know, like, and I can't tell you how much that resonated with me. And this is my 71-year-old father, who, you know, has obviously, he's been a businessman, but like, I just,
Dad.
Yeah, wow, that's what I should be doing. And so you know, but I've always made a point of, I work for myself, and Nicole too. We've worked for ourselves because we've wanted to be around our family and be able to choose the work that we want, you know, and the lifestyle that we want. So, you know, that comes with obviously compensations.
Yeah, you go and you do the work so that you can do that. And that's one thing actually that I've really learned. I've always been embraced like mental health days, right? Like when I was an employee, there was a period of like a year and a half that I didn't take a sick day because I just didn't get sick. But then it took in the last 6 months, I was physically well, but like I knew that there was a level of like mental or emotional health that wasn't drastic, but also, you know, wasn't ideal. So like I took a couple of sick days like over the time, and mostly they were just for mental health. They would like just to create space and allow the space. And as a business owner, that's a really important thing to realize is, and exactly what your dad said is, when things are slow, use it as a time to check in. And I like sort of referring it to like check in with your energy as well. So you can step into the space of what it is that you're creating and why, what's your why and what you're doing it for, rather than just being busy. And that way, when you're busy, you've had the break, you've had that space, and then you can find the balance as well. So like there is such a power in being able to do that.
And planning, in planning, like just having some time to set yourself up, you know, when you do have some time to be able to plan for what you want to do.
It's going like, what are the controllables? And the other thing like is such great advice for any, like, even though you might be in it alone, you know, like in your business alone, is to have that support around you. Whether it is hiring a business coach or, you know, a graphic designer to do that for you, if you're in the position to do that for you, because you have like, you're kind of building up a team, but you still have agency over your business, which is what I really love. But like building up this team of support, so you don't have to do the brain work to figure out how to make your logo look good if that's not your area. Like me, like, you know, it's like, oh cool, I have Brooke I can go to if I really get
Yeah.
stuck, or I
Yeah.
have my business coach, or I have someone
Right.
around me in this partnership who has their own business, but we kind of come together as like a little mastermind or whatever it is. But it's this sense of support that kind of makes you feel a little less alone
And
when
that's what we wanted to kind of like tap into when we created Lumina Design House, because we called it a design house because we wanted to like give a feeling of a family kind of embracing feeling as well. We wanted to tell people like we're here to cheer you on and support you.
yeah
And so when we were looking at, because we are a collaboration of different professionals and different, you know, in different kind of sections, we do have a business coach, like and a photographer, and we've got our social media manager, and we kind of have it all there if you need it. But then you can just have one part if you only need one part. If you only need help to build your website, then that's what we'll do. If you just need me to build you a brand foundation, then that's what we'll do. If you just need some social media support, then Darren will do that for you. And I wanted to, and it works for the customer, and yeah, again, it works for us because then we're a team and we can support one another, and we can, and we find that that's really been really successful in being able to help the people that we're working with become more successful, because they have we have more value, more
exactly. But even you guys as a brand, as your individual brands, that collaboration, or like whether it's a collaboration or support, like how I have, you know, like I said, I have you as a person I can go to as a support and everything. That does wonders for your brand, because you have energy to put into your brand on purpose, rather than the energy of being spread so thin and so stressed and trying to figure it all out. Like, I feel like that's actually a branding tactic in itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like, you don't want to be spending time on things that probably take you double or triple the time to do that someone can quickly do for you. That's going to make your life so much easier. You know, often that's the case, especially like with your management of your platforms and things like that. Like, we're working with a company who they're like, we've been doing this, but we just like, we don't have time to put all this content together and you know, and so we just went, that's okay, we've got it, you know, we'll take care of it. And they're like, oh wow, you know, it's kind of like a load off, and then you've got space to do what you do best, which is you're the expert in what you do, the experts in what we do. And so, you know, it should be it should be profitable, and it should be you know, successful, because it's an investment, but it's an investment in your success.
Yeah, exactly. It's all of those things. And I feel like I love that natural round circle we came to, which is like, with branding, it's also about taking care of yourself and having the support around you, and trusting that, you know, like the ebbs and flows as well. So well, where can people find you on socials, if you want to share that?
Well, you can find me, I've got brookemurraydesigns.com, but it's Brooke Murray Designs on Facebook, but also luminadesignhouse.com.au, and we've got a fabulous new fantastic website that is growing. Our portfolio is growing, which I'm really proud of. And on our socials, so Lumina Design House on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn, perfect.
Pinterest. All of them.
You. All of them. Thank you so much for coming on. It was such a great chat. And I knew it would be. I never really know exactly what's going to come up, but like, I knew that we would just be able to dive into
Great.
something there. Yeah. So
Thank
thank you
you
so
so much.
much. I really
Jen.
appreciate you sharing all of that wisdom. It was so nice to chat to you as well.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.